Hey there, welcome back to another devlog for Voidrunner. Today I'm diving deeper into how I'm working on the basics for my game, so movement and level design mainly. Voidrunner is a fast-paced first-person platform shooter with smooth, fast movement and hopefully exciting, challenging levels, and those are the heart of gameplay, so I think if movement or level design suck, the game will probably fail. So for me it's quite crucial to get those things right early on, and I worked quite a lot on those things in the last few weeks to get a good game feeling and set up tools that let me iterate on level design quickly. Before we get into that, quick side note, as you've already seen, I got a new enemy type. I got sick of my stationary ward enemies that just sit there and shoot the player, so I used my very bad modeling skills and put together a new enemy type. This one activates when the player comes close, and after a short warm-up phase it charges straight at you and explodes, dealing a lot of damage and pushing you away, messing with your movement and your intended path. Small change, quite a big impact. Encounters feel way more dynamic now, so I'm quite happy how it turned out. Alright, let's get into the real topic of this devlog, getting the basics down. In my opinion, it's very important to identify the pillars of your game early on and bring them to a level where you can actually build the rest of the game on top of them. The very first test levels I made were created directly in Godot by placing models and basic shapes into a 3D scene, which works, but it's tedious, and for me personally that's a big risk for finishing the game. I've learned something about myself from all my previous unfinished prototypes. I really love creating systems, new enemies with different logic, laser beams, doors, moving platforms, improving mechanics, adding features. But I really struggle with turning these nice systems into actual content. In the past I didn't enjoy building full finished levels, missions or quests out of them. And in the end, a game is not just a bunch of systems and features, it's the content and experience that you build on top. So it was clear I need a good, satisfying tool for creating levels, something where I actually enjoy the process of building content. Placing objects by hand in an empty 3D scene in Godot was definitely not the way to go. For level creation I'm using Trench Room, a level editor typically used for Quake maps. Of course I got the idea from my big inspiration Blood Thief. Trench Room is kind of standard in the Quake mapping community, and there are lots of great tutorials out there to get used to the editor and learn how it works. To get Trench Room levels into Godot, I'm using a plugin called Funk Godot. There's a great setup tutorial by Stay-at-Home Dev here on YouTube, and if you're interested in creating Quake-like levels or something like that for a Godot game, I highly recommend it. Also, don't skip the Funk Godot documentation, it's really good. The plugin doesn't just load the level geometry into Godot, it also lets me place objects inside Trench Room that get turned into scenes in Godot, like enemies, slides, doors and so on. So now I can do pretty much everything in Trench Room. I can create the level geometry, I can assign textures that get translated into materials with normal maps, height maps, ambient occlusion, emission and even custom shaders, like this water shader here. I can place entities like gates, enemies. I can create moving platforms using waypoints, doors with trigger areas, atmospheric fog volumes, or areas that damage or kill the player. Did I create a nice, fun, polished level yet? Not really. Most levels are still in a kind of grey boxing phase. They slowly evolve, and I'm still learning both the tools and what makes a level fun, specifically for my game, and this will take a lot of time. But I finally found a way of creating content that is actually enjoyable for me, and that's a huge step. Still, systems do matter, and for a platform shooter with an emphasis on fast movement, I think one system is particularly important, of course, the movement system. Right now in Voidrunner you can walk, run, slide, jump, double jump, wall run, wall jump. Maybe there will be more mechanics later, but I think those things are the foundation. And this really needs to be fun and feel good, and without knowing how the player should move, I think it's impossible to create great levels. So, movement deep dive it was. For a long time I was wondering whether my current movement system is too complicated for a basic system, and so I tried an alternative approach. I was removing the walking state, let the player always run and make him transition directly into slides when crouching or when landing. That would have removed one control button and simplified things quite a lot. And at first I really liked the idea, but I came across some challenges. For example, it suddenly became possible to basically slide forever. The player would slow down and then speed up again while still sliding, and of course this looks ridiculous, and it also felt ridiculous. I tried a few different ways to fix it, so for example using a cooldown on slides, so after sliding you either had to wait for a couple of seconds or first land from a jump before you can slide again. Another approach was trying to make a resource-based system, quite similar as in Blood Thief, where you can slide as long as you have some resource that refills by killing enemies or something similar. Or I also tried a mode where sliding is only possible right after landing, never while just running, so you can only go straight from a jump into a slide and never just start sliding while running. Because I added new states to my player state machine, it was pretty easy to switch between different movement modes and test them. And I could ask myself, how does it feel? How do my current levels play with each system? Which one do I actually prefer? Jumping back and forth, tweaking parameters like movement speed, jump force, momentum gain and maximum speed. This took quite a lot of time, but minute after minute, hour after hour, I came to the conclusion that I still prefer my original movement system, just with some parameter tweaks. In the end, I spent a lot of effort just not to change the system at all. But the process was still really important, I think. It helped me better understand what I want the game to feel like. And also I'm keeping the alternative modes. At some point in the future I'll need other players to playtest the game, and maybe they'll have different preferences for the movement controls. Or maybe they come up with a solution I did not. If that happens, I already have the groundwork in place to explore alternative control schemes, and in the process itself I improved my own sense for what Voidrunner should be and which parts of the movement are important to me. Okay, that's it for now. If you want to see these systems evolve into actual playable content, subscribe and follow the journey, and if you have any ideas or feedback on movement or level design or whatever, drop a comment, I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.